are there any types of cases the insurance companies are more likely to settle? Does it have to do with case type, such as car accident or slip and fall, or is it based on the settlement financial request, a higher demand or something? The higher amount, the less likely they will be willing to settle without a trial. So so that was a long question. Coming back to the first part of it, are there any types of cases the insurance companies are more likely to settle faster?
Well, I think if you have a case with a very sympathetic juror, a very sympathetic plaintiff with a lot of damages and liability that's very clear, then that's a case the insurance company might be more motivated to settle. I don't think the amount that you demand has much to do with it usually. Insurance companies will probably pay what they value the case to be, either earlier or later on. They're not going to decide to give someone money because they demanded more money. The cases I can think of are, a drunk driver hits a family and their kids are injured, very seriously. There's a certain amount of money for that policy. They'll probably, give that money quicker than on a case where how the accident happened is disputed, where one party says one thing, the other party says another, and the injuries weren't as bad. Usually, cases where the limits of an insurance policy are lower and the amount of damages suffered by the person is high, you typically see those cases settle more quickly. So I think it's a very case-by-case basis. You can't really make too many generalizations on, how a lawyer approaches a case necessarily and relate that to whether a case will settle quickly or not. But you can, I guess, see certain things that, like I discussed, that may make it settle more quickly. What do you think?
I think a great answer. Can I ask you can you move yourself to the right or your camera to the left a little bit, center yourself? There you go. That's a little bit better. Thank you. Sorry. And I move around when I talk. Shoot, I was walking around a minute ago. It's all good. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Stephen. So it's like anything. It depends. So if there are, but I would say medical malpractice and products liability cases are usually harder to settle. I usually don't try to settle them in a claim stage. It means I'm filing suit on those cases and litigating them, and then I'm talking money, because that's the only way I get their attention, frankly. And I've tried to do it the other way to no avail, and my clients are like, why do we delay this? Let's get this thing on file. There's also shorter time limitations for medical malpractice cases. You need to get those things moving. In terms of other cases, so like types of cases like slip and fall, premises liability, or auto cases, or truck or motorcycle, that's what you were talking about a minute ago. It depends on liability and damages. So on the liability side, so I guess the answer to the question is there's a lot of variables in a lot of cases that can affect the timeline of settlement. I have cases all the time where I have clients, like I settle a case on the eve of trial, the client's going, I go to the client, remember when you came in, you said you didn't know if you needed a lawyer because this was a straightforward thing and the case should settle easy, and then we fought this for 2 years, and then, so, I mean, and you're laughing because you see that all the time too. So yeah, but if there's contested liability, or if the defendant lied in the police report and said, no, I had the green light, and your client says, I did, then that's going to go longer. That's harder to settle because the insurance company has something to deny it on. Or if there's comparative fault on legitimate comparative fault on the part of your client, or if it's a slip and fall, if they're saying, no, I had no knowledge about the ice that was there or something like that. So if the defendant, the insured, comes up and creates a defense, that can delay things. And I often wonder why when we litigate these cases, and I'm like, you have insurance. Why are you fighting this? Why are you making a story about this? Is not coming out of your pocket. And then on the money side, on the amount of the demand is one of the things. You're right, though. You correctly pointed out insurance policy limits can affect it. If the damages are way above a policy limit, sometimes that's easier to settle a case. but the other thing is connecting the medical damages. So if you have a medical situation where your client is an old guy like me, not a young guy like you, and older people will have more degenerative conditions in their back, or they'll have and all the medical on this, Stephen. So the insurance company will try to say that the injuries, and they'll attack it from a causation point of view rather than a liability point of view. They'll say from a causation point of view, you didn't cause that herniated disc in the neck, or you know what, you're an inability, you have a meniscus tear, but when they went in, they found other problems or this kind of stuff in your knee. So the defendants will try to muddy it up on the medical causation too. Or your client your client had an accident 3 years before about the same part of their body or that kind of stuff. So there's different ways that can delay it. And then lastly, and I know I'm talking long, but I just one other point and I'll be done, is there's a tension between getting money fast and getting a good settlement. So if you want to, clients who want to get a high money resolution in their case, and many times deservedly so, that sometimes doesn't happen quick because the insurance companies, they have their they've done the math and they know if they can pay less sooner, quicker, and you force them to trial, you file suit and do these other things, is sometimes when you get the good money. I wish it wasn't so, but on the other hand, it keeps me in business. So there you go. Anything to riff off of what I said, Stephen?
Yeah. So what you said at the end there reminded me of what the late Ed Brown said about settling quickly. If you settle quickly, you usually settle cheaply. So I try to tell clients that, sometimes you don't want to take the first offer on the table because it's not what your case is worth. And to get your case to where it's worth requires work and time. It's a process that doesn't, just happen overnight. It's a process, I guess is what I always try to say.